Okay. My next guest is known as much for his exotic hairstyles and heavy makeup and extensive cosmetic surgery as he is for his music. In the 1980s, he enjoyed considerable success as the lead singer of a band called Dead or Alive, whose biggest hit was this one. How are you, Pete?
Really nervous.
Show them on the love. Don't be nervous.
Well, it's kind of the first thing I've done for a long time, so I'm absolutely crapping it.
You came to the right country and the right show. So
I don't even know why you've asked me to be here.
Because we want to talk to you about all the things you've done and the life you've led. It's a very interesting one.
You want an old jailbird on TV?
Well, we'll talk about that later on.
Okay.
We played the clip. You know, you saw the clip of Dead or Alive. Does that song drive you nuts now when you see it?
It doesn't drive me nuts, but it's a bit like I did it so long ago, and it's a bit like it's a school uniform, and I've grown out of it, and I need to move on from that kind of thing. So I've kind of put music on hold for a long time.
You grew up in, was it Cheshire?
Yeah, the Wirral.
The Wirral.
Port Sunlight.
And what sort of a life did you have as a kid? What was the family background like?
Totally isolated. I think I was the only child in that village for a long time.
Were you?
Yeah, and my mother was German and my father was English, and it was a very unusual upbringing, I guess. I didn't know that at the time.
But even though you were isolated, why would it have been an unusual upbringing?
Because there was no other children in the village.
So that made it different. You had to occupy
and
yourself.
There was no other half-German children in the village.
Yeah. The flamboyance that would become apparent later on, though, did that happen quite early on for you, do you think? Or?
Yeah, I think very early on, but it was never perceived as flamboyance. It was a creative process. I have a much older brother who was much more academically educated than I was, because I was not interested in going to school. There wasn't enough art classes and things like that, so my art was myself.
And were you trying on clothes or makeup at an early stage, or did that come much later?
Well, it wasn't makeup then, it was kind of paint, Dulux and shoe dye and things like that. But my mother always saw it as a really harmless thing, and as you probably read in my book, Freak You Deek, her makeup ritual was very intricate, but that was her own self-meditative process. It was her way of preparing for the day. Oh, it's in the book. I can't describe it. Yeah. Even in the book, it's not accurate what she would do at 4 in the morning till 7 in the morning, but I think the way the book is written, it kind of makes her out to be somebody who was just completely self-obsessed, and she wasn't. She was a great housewife too, but before she got into the running of the house, she had to be ready and prepared.
And that meant a very early start in the day and get stuck in. And
3 costume changes in the day, yeah.
As well.
She was fabulous, yeah.
Your mum, you can see in the book as well, she was a pivotal,
well, I was very much her baby. I was her child. I was the sensitive child.
Yeah, and she would look after you in that way.
She didn't look after me on any level. She threw me to the wolves, but she allowed me to express myself, and she believed that nothing was wrong or harmful.
I'm just thinking, because when your mum fell quite ill
she got lung cancer.
When you were doing so well in your career.
That was the peak of my career, yeah.
And you decided to put all the success on hold to nurse her to good health, didn't you, really?
Well, I'm not trying to sound like a saint here. I was not happy with the way all of the success was going, in the fact that I had no life, I had no privacy, everything was about work, and when she got ill, it gave me something else to focus on, and it gave me a different set of perspectives, really, and I've never regretted it for a minute.
What did you do?
I was supposed to go on a tour with Madonna. I think it was Who's That Girl tour, and it was all set, and then she came down to London, and my father told me she had lung cancer, and I just told the manager I had at the time I couldn't go. And then because she refused to have any conventional therapy like chemotherapy and things like that, because she didn't want to lose her hair, I had to delve into all kinds of things bordering on witchcraft, things like Matthew Manning the healer, Reiki therapy, flotation tanks, a lot of things to try and keep her going. And she was given basically I think 6 weeks to live, and she lived 11 months with no pain and no morphine and no treatment.
Can I bring it back to the 70s when you were getting it stuck into the music scene? I think it was Liverpool you were mostly
Yeah, I moved from
around.
Portugal Night into Liverpool, yeah.
And what sort of bands were on the scene at that point, Pete?
Well, the people who were from Liverpool were Echo and the Bunnymen, Teardrop Explodes, the Frantic Elevators, but they were not really my peers. When I started to go to Eric's, which was the main club,
Sure.
the people who adopted me were the American people like Cherry Vanilla, Iggy Pop, Johnny Thunders, people like that were the ones that I met. So Ian McCulloch and Julian Cope and things weren't really my peers. In fact, they tried to sabotage any start to a career I might have had because I was so flamboyant, and they were very threatened by that.
You posed a threat to their
Yeah, and
status.
I didn't have a clue why.
Yeah.
That was just what I was, you know.
Did you two ever cross your paths at all in the middle of all that?
Yeah, they played at Eric's early on. I think I met them when what was it? If you walk away, I will follow. 11 o'clock TikTok, I remember that one.
Yeah. Dead or Alive then became, they were phenomenally successful in their day, and you got a good paycheck, your first paycheck. Can you recall what you spent it on?
My nose. I'd always said I wanted to change my nose, and that's the first thing I did, and it went horribly wrong.
What was wrong with your nose in the first place?
Just nothing, really.
So why did you want to change it?
Because I needed to make some changes.
Why did you need to if there was nothing wrong?
Because I didn't feel that I was born in the right face, really.
And how old were you when you thought that was the first thing that was...
Probably about 3 or 4.
It's very young to
It's really
be
young,
that
yeah.
uncomfortable with yourself.
Yeah, very uncomfortable.
And when you were that young thinking that, how did you deal with it? Because it's hard enough to be thinking of what you're going to watch on television, let alone what's wrong with your face.
Well, you don't know, at that age, you don't really obsess about it. You just know something's not right, and as you grow older, you realise that if something's not right, there's things you can do about it.
So the nose situation that you got the operation on.
It was a situation.
Go on, well, explain to me.
Well, I went to a doctor in Liverpool. He'd done Cilla Black's nose.
I didn't know she had a nose job.
Oh, whoops. And Tom Jones's first nose.
No.
And it was so cheap. It was so cheap, it was unbelievable. So it took a very little hole in my paycheck. And I went there, and I woke up, and I had no nose. And next thing, I was number 1.
What do you mean you had no nose? Yeah, no, because I don't understand it. I mean, other than...
Have you seen LaToya Jackson's nose? Michael Jackson's nose?
What's left of it?
Yeah, Michael Jackson's nose.
So it's just two little...
Yeah, 2 little holes.
And what did you
And he
say?
said, don't look in the mirror for 6 months. And I got a phone call, and it said, you're number 1 in the charts, you've got to do Top of the Pops.
What did you do next?
I made an eye patch.
Because you wanted to...
Distract from my nose.
Did it work?
It kind of did, yeah. And all through that process of those hits, the eye patch was there, and my nose was changing and getting kind of closer to what I thought it should have been.
And did that work? Do you think you got it right in the end?
After 7 goes, yeah.
7 goes?
Yeah.
With different sizes and shapes and...
No, because it would collapse. He mashed it. He completely mashed it. There's a lot of really irresponsible surgeons out there who don't know what they're doing, you know? And that was the first one of a chain that I bumped into.
And you talk about the chain, whatever about the surgeons, the procedures you got done then, Pete, where did you go after you decided that the face was not for you at the time, you changed the nose? What next? What sort of jobs did you get done?
It was a process of trying things, and then when they were removable, I tried cheek implants. They were awful. I got them taken out. The nose was corrected, and then the main nightmare happened with lip augmentation, as you know.
Well, not yet, but
You can't see because it's a 2-hour makeup job, but I'm still going through it with that.
what does the lip augmentation mean? Because a lot of people don't understand it. Just explain.
Well, I'm sure, don't underestimate your audience. I'm sure most people here understand what lip augmentation is, and there's relatively innocuous things like collagen and restyling and things, but when it's something more serious that you don't want to keep going back every couple of weeks and getting done, there are solutions out there, very commonly available here in Dublin.
So when did you think that the lip augmentation situation has got out of control?
When they nearly fell off and I nearly died. I had kidney stones, I nearly had to have parts of my face amputated. Very serious stuff, very serious.
It's a simple question, but so forgive the simplicity, but how did they nearly fall off, or why?
Because my body developed an immune system reaction to what was perceived to be a very safe solution. And an immune system reaction means that it eats its way through the rest of your face and moves into other parts of your body.
And did this happen, was it one day in particular you woke up and the lips were just swollen? Was it beyond control, or was it a gradual process?
Well, this is a mainstream show, and if you had pictures and stuff like that, I had yellow pus and holes and stuff bursting out. My face was swelling up to twice its size. Unbelievable. I was on intravenous morphine, intravenous pethidine. The only doctor that could help me was a cancer facial reconstructive surgeon in Italy called Dr. Giovanni Ferrandez. He thought it would be like 3 operations. I ended up being in Italy for 18 months and getting this stuff excised and excised. It was no holiday. I can't talk about it glibly. It was extremely traumatic.
It sounds like it.
And it's not over yet.
You've more to do.
Yeah, more to do to get the to get the stuff out, because my body keeps rejecting it. There's still that stuff in it.
Where is it?
What do you think? You just talked about the lips.
But it's all there. Is it stored there? I thought it might just make its way around. Or
it did, into the jaw,
that's what
other areas, or my ass.
Were you addicted to surgery, Pete?
No, not at all. I was addicted to the stock in trade quote that I have is I'm both a victim and a perpetrator of cosmetic surgery. When it goes well, it can go very, very well, and when it goes wrong, nobody has a clue how badly wrong it can go.
You did Celebrity Big Brother, and that was watched by a lot of people in this country, as it happens.
Biggest mistake I ever made.
You think?
Yeah.
Why?
Because after spending 17 or 18 months in Italy, just with my partner Michael, and losing my country and not ever coming back here, coming back for a few days on the Christmas before I went in, and it felt like home, and then I did that show and it wasn't home anymore. I couldn't go anywhere. It was chaos everywhere.
In what sense?
Well, I was a household name.
And you didn't want that anymore?
No.
And was it back into paparazzi-ville and...
It was hell beyond anything I can adequately describe. Hell.
Did you have a breakdown as a result of all of that?
I dropped my basket in a big way, yeah, a really bad one. And I'm still in recovery,
Oh, yeah.
When you break down to that degree, you don't build up in 2 days. I turned to the mental health people for help. They could not give me any help. I ended up in prison,
How did you end up in prison?
It's a very long, complicated story.
Yeah.
Well, I should have been in a hospital, and my partner Michael was trying to get me in a hospital. We were at that time separated because it was too dangerous for him to be around me.
Yeah.
I was absolutely psychotic. And I think anybody who'd been through the list of things that I was going through at that time, almost bankruptcy, the sale of my house had fallen through, major tax bills, an acrimonious divorce, and various other things, I flipped. I completely flipped. So Michael was the one who was out there in the distance trying to get me help, and then next thing I was in jail.
And you got out...
Don't ask me about the bail situation.
Tell me about the bail situation.
Well, because my house sale had fallen through and I was almost bankrupt and stuff like that, a very kind man called Peter Quint did bail me out, but he was a very unusual man and he wanted to marry me.
Did you know him?
No.
And did he just know you from the TV, or was he...
I don't know what he knew me from.
And how did it work that he bailed you out and...
Somehow, in the ridiculous you know, I don't want to say the word, but the legal system in this country just appears to me like a load of wank in England.
In England,
yeah, a load of wank. A complete stranger could bail me out, have me sequestered to his house, buy me a bridal veil and a bride's dress, and also have a chart hidden at the side of his house how to dismember a body and dispose of it easily.
No.
Yeah, but luckily it was all on TV in that World of Wonder documentary.
So you had to stay in
No, I
this...
didn't. I got out really
You
fast.
got out fast, but,
Yeah.
but the terms were kind of you had to go to his house at some point
Yeah.
anyway. And he was it's like...
But I couldn't see my boyfriend, Michael.
But you could see this guy.
Yeah. So I got home to London and I was with my boyfriend Michael, but we lived behind closed curtains in case the police could arrest me.
And where are you living now?
With my boyfriend Michael in London.
You're back in London.
But at that time, the police were really having a laugh. It was malicious prosecution.
Okay. And you're now back in London. Are things better now? Or are they...
In what way?
Well, have they improved from what they were, say, a year ago or 6 months ago?
Michael and me are building up a new life, really. It's a different life. And it has its really, really hard times. Because am I supposed to go back to singing? I don't really want to do that. What am I looking for in this job? I can't go and get a job in Sainsbury's, can I? No, but, you know, I'd really kind of like a normal job.
Yeah.
But people think everything I do is going to be so fabulous and glamorous, but I spend inordinate amounts of times doing nothing.
But you'd like to be doing something.
Yeah, but that's not sing and spin me round.
Okay. Well, look, I hope you find happiness in whatever it is you choose to do. I mean that. And that's the book for people who want to read more details of it. Pete Burns, thank you for coming and telling your story.
Did you know Michael and I are going to be married?
No, I didn't, but I'm
we
delighted
told
to
you
hear
that.
that. Congratulations. When is that going to take place?
There he is over there.
He's over there filming.
Yeah. But from what I heard, because he's like my educator. From what I heard, it's not acceptable in Ireland that gay marriages are taken seriously.
And you're going to get married when?
Very soon, and unfortunately, it's going to be on TV. But I think that's going to push the point home that it's serious, because you know, gay marriage isn't taken that seriously, and heterosexual marriages screw up in a bad way. And Michael's got a 10-year-old daughter and stuff like that, and he's loved me unconditionally through all of this drama and everything. He's always been there for me. So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here tonight, you know.
Well, good luck with everything. Pete Burns, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, we've another break to take. Join me again in a few minutes' time when our screens will be lighting up as we talk to Joe. See you soon.